Hi and welcome guys, Castle Queenside here, and today we have another amazing game on our hands. This one was played between Henry Ernest Atkins, who was playing with white pieces, and Herbert Levi Jacobs, who was playing with black pieces. This game was played in 1915, and what is amazing about this game is that the white created such an attack. He sacrificed all of his pieces except his knight, and he created a smothered mate threat which ended the game in a style as you saw from the thumbnail. So without any further ado, we will go straight into the game. So the game started with e4, and the black replied with e5, d4, and e takes on d4. Atkins decided to play c3, and we are entering a Danish Gambit. Black decided to take this pawn, and the white responded with bishop c4. The main idea in Danish Gambit is for white to develop fastly his pieces, especially if the black decides to take this pawn, then the white will rely on his bishop pair and the fast development of his pieces, and the black king will still be in the center and the black will be underdeveloped. So that's the idea behind sacrificing these two pawns. But our game didn't transpire this way. The black continued with knight f6 here, already putting the pressure on this pawn, and the white responded with knight f3. The black decided to take this pawn, and the white decided to castle kingside. After castling, there is a rook e1 threat of pinning this black knight, so that is the reason why black decided to play knight d6. Right now he's removing the knight from possible pin and he's attacking this bishop. And now we are already in the crucial part of the game, because right now the white doesn't want to save his bishop and he plays knight takes on c3. So the white played casually. Of course the black wants to capture this free piece, and he does that in the game. Knight takes on c4, and the game continues with a rook e1 check and bishop e7, after which white decided to attack this pinned piece. Of course this is the obvious idea. This piece is weak and sort of is hanging. The black king is weak, so of course when there is a situation like this, you always try to push and pressure these weak pieces. So in the game, knight c6 was played, which was pretty much the only move that worked for black. So in this position, after knight d5, if the black decided to castle and just allow white to recapture this piece, this would be a huge mistake for black. And I will show you the lines right now. So the first move would be knight takes on e7 with a check. The king is forced to go on h8, and now the white continues with knight g5. Looks like a careless move, looks like there is nothing hanging, but actually there is. And I will show you now why. In this position, if the black decides to play something like h6, the white would continue with queen d3. Now there is a queen h7 checkmate. And if the black decides to take, there is a queen h3 checkmate. Let's go back. So after queen d3, the black can maybe try with g6. Then the game would continue with queen takes on c4. Now this piece is hanging and a possible fork is coming for the black. Again, if the black decides to take this knight, the white would continue with bishop g5. And if the king decides to go on g7, then there is queen h4. The queen is now forced to take this knight on e7 because there is a checkmate. The checkmate in this position is unavoidable, but this is just prolonging the game basically. Rook takes on e7, c6, bishop f6 check, king g8, and queen h8 checkmate. There were a few more options here for black, and we will showcase them right now. If after knight g5 the black decided to play something like knight d6 and try and protect this pawn, the white would continue with queen d3. Again, same checkmate threat is on h7, so if the black, for example, responds with f5, we have a knight g6 firstly check. If the black decides to take, we continue with queen h3, of course, check, king g8, and a beautiful queen h7 checkmate. So this is not an option for black. After knight g6 check, there are a few options the black can do. For example, black can maybe go on g8. Then the game would continue with queen b3 check. Knight f7 is practically forced. And now the black continues with knight e7 check. If the king decides to go on h8, then there is a beautiful sacrifice, queen takes on f7. If the rook takes on f7, then there is a knight takes on f7 checkmate. So after queen takes on f7, the queen is practically forced to take this knight, and then checkmate is inevitable again. Rook will take on e7, rook will take on f7, and then rook e8 check, rook f8, and rook takes on f8 is a checkmate. So huge threats were upon black, and there is another line I want to show you here. So after queen d3 there is another possibility for black, and that is to play g6. In this case the game would continue with queen takes on c4, d5 for the black, stopping this threat and this pawn being attacked, queen h4, again creating a checkmate on h7, h5, and right now the white takes this knight on c6. If the black decides to take this is not good, because right now there is a knight f7, and whatever the king does, if the rook takes, then this queen will fall. If the king moves, then this queen will fall again, but this time by the knight, so this is not a good move. After knight takes on c6, the best move is queen f6, and after bishop f4, this is the end of the variation. So clearly a huge material advantage and a huge initiative for white, so this is a won position for white. We will now go back to our game. So after the best move knight c6, the white continued with bishop g5, putting even more pressure on this pinned bishop. Right now the black decided to play f6, at least to try and push this bishop and stop this threat of taking this on e7. The white continued with rook c1. Instead of going rook c1, white had another possibility, for example playing after f6 bishop f4. Right now this pawn is hanging and this queen is kind of trapped, so this is the threat created for white. The black has to respond with d6, and then knight takes on e7, the knight retakes, and the white has queen a4 check, a double attack, and computer evaluates this position as a little advantage for black since he has the material advantage, but still this game is playable for both black and white. And this was one of the possibilities, of course, for white. This wasn't played, rook c1 was played, and b5 was response for black. So black decided to protect this weak knight. And another crucial part of the game, rook takes on c4. White decides to sacrifice his rook for this knight because he's evaluating the position that this knight could be a possible piece that could ruin his plans in the future attacks. So that is the reason why he sacrificed his rook. B takes on c4, and now another sacrifice for white, it's knight e5. So right now this bishop is hanging and this knight is hanging. In the game, f takes on g5 was played, which was a mistake, and the black had better options here. Instead of going f takes on g5 after knight e5, the black had a better option, and this was f takes on e5. So the game would continue with knight takes on e7, knight retakes, and right now rook takes on e5. Of course this knight will fall and this queen will fall, but at the end of the day the black will have a pair up, he will be one bishop up and he will have one pawn up, and this is a huge material advantage for black. So this was the way that could have been played by the black. Of course this wasn't played, but fg5 was played. The game continued with queen h5 check. Right now king f8 of course is not an option because there is a queen f7 checkmate, that's obvious. After queen h5 g6 was played in the game, so the white continued with knight f6, and again right now this bishop is forced to take this knight. Going on f8 is not an option because there is a queen h6 checkmate. After bishop takes on f6, white continued with knight takes on g6 check. Right now e file is opening, and that was the idea for white. The best move for black in this position was queen e7, and this was played in the game. We will show what would happen, for example, if the black decided to play, instead of queen e7, bishop e7. Then the game would continue with queen takes on h8 check, king f8, and beautiful queen f7 checkmate. We will go back one more time and see what would happen after knight g6 if the king decided to go on f7. The game would continue with knight e5 check, and if the king decides to go on g7, the game would continue with queen f7 check, king h6, and beautiful queen g4 checkmate. If after knight e5 check the black king decides to go on e6, then the game would continue with knight takes on c6 check, king d6, and knight takes on d8, rook takes on d8 with a huge material advantage for white. So that was the reason why queen e7 was the only option for black in this position, and the game continued with beautiful rook takes on e7 check, bishop takes on e7, knight e5 check, king d8. Of course, king d8 is forced. Again, I will show you why. If the king decides to go here, again there is a same idea, queen f7 checkmate, knight e5 check, king d8, knight f7 check, king e8, knight d6 check, and right now again moving the king here is not an option. Again, checkmate on f7, so the king is forced to go on d8, and after queen e8 the black decided to resign because there is a beautiful smothered mate on f7 with the knight. So take a look at this position. So the only piece for white is knight, and he actually managed to checkmate the black with that only knight. Truly an amazing game, historic game, I would say, one of the gems of the chess game. A truly amazing victory for white. This will be in the chess books as one of the prettiest games in history, in my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. If you did, please leave a comment, like and subscribe, as this would mean a lot to me. I'm trying to grow my channel. I'm trying to make this channel a primary source of my income, so anything helps. Thank you in advance for all of your continuous support. I will continue making videos, and I will see you in the next game. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye bye.